In the current economy, people are not spending big bucks on comics, but you still want to be involved with the hobby, right? It's for that reason that I've created this series in which I highlight books that people may already own that they potentially want to send in to have them graded. And through this process, they can actually increase the value of their books and thus their collection by spending just a couple of bucks to have the books graded. So in this video, we're going to run down some examples of books that you may already own. The data that we're going to be using for this video comes from comicspriceguide.com, the sponsor of the video. Be certain to check them out using the link down in the description. I hope you enjoy the video. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of comics that you may want to consider sending in to be graded if you happen to have them in your comic collection. And we are going to look at 3 books, and then I'll mention a bonus book at the end. The very first one that we're going to look at is actually a modern comic. It is a modern comic that I happen to have in the collection. It is Black Panther issue number 2, the first appearance of Shuri. And awesome character. I enjoyed Shuri in the Black Panther movies, including the last one that came out. But the future of this character in the MCU is a little bit unknown. But with that said, where would we draw the line in the sand for this book that was published in 2005 in terms of send it, don't send it? For me, I would draw the line pretty high, and I would draw it at the 9.8, which has a value, according to comicspriceguide.com, of $220. So for these analysis, I tend to assume an all-in cost of around $70. That includes the purchase of the book, the shipping, the grading, the pressing, all of that, all in $70. So you might say, hey, if your cost is $70, why draw the line so high at $220? Why not at the 9.6, which has a value of $130, or the 9.4, which has a value of $105? Part of the reason for that is I feel like the data is a little soft when you're looking at the 9.4 and the 9.6 in terms of, will those values be sustained moving forward? And I feel like there isn't enough demand maybe at the 9.4 and 9.6 to warrant those values staying that high. And, over time, characters' popularity kind of wax and wane. And as a result of that, the values also wax and wane. And so there is the possibility that these values for the 9.4 and the 9.6 won't be sustainable. The 9.6, generally speaking, is going to be a book that is going to maintain its value a little bit better than some of the other grades, particularly for the modern comic. Well, technically for any comic, but specifically for the 9.8 of Black Panther issue number 2. So I would draw the line again high. I would draw it at the 9.8. So if you don't have a really, really nice copy of this book, I would simply put that book in a poly or in a Mylar, and I would treasure that book for what it is. And I am honestly speaking from my own experience, because I have a copy and it is not a 9.8 candidate. It is still a dope book, but I am not going to send it in and spend more money to have it come back not where I would want it to be. Now, if you are, getting your book graded simply because you want to get it graded, that's a different story. This video, to some degree, is about increasing the value of your collection through grading. And as a result, you have to be strategic about what you are doing. And so for Black Panther issue number 2, I would draw the line at the 9.8. Again, really nice book, but I would not send it in at those lower grades. All right, so the next book that we are going to look at is a multi-key. This is DC Comics Presents issue number 26, published in 1980. This book has a lot going on for it. It's the first appearance of the new Teen Titans, including Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven. I enjoy these characters and I definitely enjoyed the Titans show. But again, like I just mentioned before, the future is unknown as to what's going to happen with these characters. But the comic is solid. There is no doubt about that. This comic is an awesome comic to have in your collection. And if you have it, congratulations on that, because I dig the cover, but I also dig the characters as well. Now, with this book, where would I draw the line? Because of what this book is and because of what I see in the data, I feel a little more comfortable with this one going down to the 9.0. Very fine to near mint. Raw, according to comicspriceguide.com, it has a value of $160, graded $175. I feel like there's a lot of cushion and margin there. When you start to look at the 8.5, the 8.0, the 7.5, it comes down to the volume of transactions and the timing of those transactions. If those transactions occurred a while ago, I feel less confident that the value of this book at those lower grades will be maintained. This is a dynamic market. Values are kind of sort of all over the place depending upon the book that you're looking at. When I look at the data, I feel comfortable recommending someone grade this book if it could be a 9.0 or higher. And so again, if you have a lower grade, fret not, put it in a Mylar, keep it in a poly and enjoy the book for what it is. But if you have a higher grade, I would absolutely pull the trigger. The values above the 9.0 start to look pretty good. The 9.0, 175, the 9.2, 200, the 9.4, 280, the 9.6, 440. And if you have a 9.8 candidate, congratulations to you. More than likely, you've already sent that book in. But really awesome book. If you have it in your collection, pull it out, take a look at it, evaluate the pressable versus non-pressable defects, the cleanable type of defects, and figure out whether you have a candidate that could land in the upper part of the grading scheme. One of the great things is that you can set a pre-screen in place so that if it falls below, it doesn't get graded. If it comes in above, then you get to enjoy the benefits of that. So DC Comics presents issue number 26, an awesome comic. I do believe that the newsstands value is a little bit lower than this. I did not stare at that data long enough, but I feel like the direct edition has a slightly higher value than the newsstand. But again, that's something that you may have to dig into if you happen to have that copy. All right, so the next book that we're going to look at is another book that is a multi-key. This is a multi-key. This is X-Men issue number 131. And we spent a lot of time over the last little bit here talking about X-Men 130, which is the first appearance of Dazzler. 131 is the second appearance of Dazzler, but it's also the first appearance of the Hellfire Knights, as well as the first cover of the White Queen. And she has an amazing expression on her face. I am not quite sure what was being channeled when she was drawn, but it's an interesting look on her face. Now, with this book, this multi-key, I would draw the line a little bit lower as well. Not as low as the last one, but I would place it around the 9.2, near mint minus. I had a 9.2 graded. This book has a value of $165, which is not bad at all. Again, you look at the 9.0, drops down to $100. Doesn't give you doesn't give me enough cushion there for the variability in values, but $165, that's not terrible at all. 9.4, 210, 9.6, 370. If you have a 9.8, 2400, more than likely you've already sent that book in. This is a cool comic that I do not own. I'd like to get a copy of this one, but I do not own this one. Maybe one day I will go ahead and snag this one. But again, this could be one that you want to send in if you've had it in your collection. The bonus book that I want to mention is New Teen Titans issue number 1. This also is a multi-key with a lot of things going forward. With this book, I would send it in if it were a 9.6 or higher. That, I think, is where I would draw the line for that book, but it ties quite nicely with DC Comics Presents issue number 26. So there you have it. We're going to wrap this video up. A couple of really cool books in this one: Black Panther 2, X-Men issue number 131, and as mentioned, DC Comics Presents issue number 26. If you enjoyed this video, I definitely want to encourage you to give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that as well. And if you want to reach out to me, you can do it on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
This thing on? Mic check. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Yo, should you practice art? Or should art be your practice? I had a question, so I asked it. Not to anyone specifically, but to my inner God, you know? The one that's gonna be a master. The one that's more than a rapper. The one that's an educator. The one that seeks enlightenment. He travels with concepts. He's got the mindset expansive. He understands that his time combined with travel and concepts makes his mind convex. Sort of like when you look at a brain scan. Straight off meditation, we was concaving until we had that eternal dialogue that created our dialect. Now we in distinct rooms of pure souls having them conversations. Synergy and combination.